Dave Dulio is the director of the Center for Civic Engagement at Oakland University, professor in the Political Science Department, and on our AT&T line right this very moment from Rochester, Michigan. Thanks for being available.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Nice to talk to you, Michael Patrick.
This is going to be one of the weirdest presidential elections ever, maybe. And I heard yesterday Joe Biden, the presumed nominee for the Democrats, the former vice president, was asked, Americans are scared. They're very concerned about coronavirus. What can you tell them? And Biden answered like this.
My message is that the president has to move more rapidly. We know from experience that speed matters. We know that you can't go too fast. It's about going too slow. And in order to avoid those very high numbers, we have to do at least several things. One, we have to depend on what the president's going to do right now. And first of all, he has to wait till the cases before anything happens. Look, the whole idea is he's got to get in place things that
I don't know, Dave Dulio, if you had to diagram those sentences and describe that paragraph, how would you?
Well, the Vice President Biden has made a couple of appearances, if you will, from his basement in Delaware during the coronavirus, as sort of the campaign has come to a halt, really, screeching halt, as a matter of fact, and he's struggled, which he's done in debates and in other instances where he stumbles over his words. Sometimes it doesn't always seem like he's frankly on top of it, and I think that's a danger sign for Joe Biden.
Yeah, that's one example there. And if you could see it, you would see that he kept looking down at these notes, and it almost feels like he's trying to get all of these certain phrases in that he's practiced ahead of time, and instead of being clearly communicating them, he just sort of smashes them all together.
And that's odd for the former vice president, who's, as you know, for decades been somebody who often just speaks from the cuff and says what's on his mind. It's a bit of a turn.
Do you think it's possible that those who say he's sort of slipping are correct?
Oh, that's a question for an expert that's in a different field than me and probably far above my pay grade.
What about electability, though? I mean, eventually, I suppose we're going to see him on the debate stage. We're going to see him campaigning, whatever campaigning means now. Is he going to hold up under the lights, since he doesn't seem to be already?
Well, we'll see. I mean, only the future can tell us that, and I think you've got a good point about whatever campaigning looks like, because that could really be very, very different than anything we've ever seen. At least in modern presidential campaigns, when television and image have been so important, and really the only thing not the only thing that matters, but it's something that is so critical to how a presidential candidate is perceived, and it's been that way since Kennedy Nixon, and this may change, that we don't see candidates in the venues that we're used to seeing them. We don't see them interact with voters like we used to see them, and it may harken back to the whistle stops from yesteryear. We'll have to wait and see how the campaigns deal with it.
Why do you think Democrats ultimately nominated Joe Biden? And I recognize it's not finished yet, but it's finished for all intents and purposes. How did he emerge from a field of 20 when it looked like he was just about out of the race?
Well, I think it's really interesting, and it is something that takes me back to the 2004 Democratic nomination, when for a year or so, somebody else from Vermont, a guy named Howard Dean, former governor there, was the darling of the Democratic Party. And he, for the entirety of about 2003, led in the polls, led in money, led in organization. He did almost what Bernie Sanders did. When Bernie Sanders, at the end of 2019 and the very early part of 2019, had a what seemed to be a stranglehold on the Democratic nomination, even through the first few caucuses. And then what happened in both 2003 and this time around, I think, is that Democrats became very pragmatic, and they said, okay, can we really nominate this far-left candidate, Dean in 2003, Sanders in 2020, can we nominate this person to beat the Republican that's in the White House? And the conclusion was no. And they turned to, for the 2004 election, John Kerry, moderate, relatively speaking, establishment Democrat, and they do the same thing with Joe Biden. Democrats, of course, are hoping that their choice this time turns out a little better than it did in 2004.
Is there any, I know he told his brother on television that he's not running for president, but there are some Democrats who would say, gosh, it'd be pretty good to put Governor Cuomo up there right now. He seems to be strong, he communicates well, and his approval rating's soaring in New York.
Absolutely. Governor Cuomo has shown some things that I think not only Democrats, but a lot of Americans would be interested in terms of candidate qualities in the last couple of weeks as he's handled the coronavirus in his state. And it's something that would be, well, whether it would be unprecedented or not is another story, but it would be a pretty big lift to move away from Joe Biden at this point and insert Andrew Cuomo.
Is there a way it could be done?
Of course. We often forget that these presidential primary processes are internal party dealings. The Democratic Party decides how they nominate their presidential candidate, and they have a long series of rules that they have come up with that dictate how that choice is made. And but it's also true that those rules can not easily, but they can be changed.
Could change the whole. They could. Well, I mean, they could try to convince Joe Biden not to run, but that probably wouldn't happen.
I think that's the toothpaste is out of that tube for sure.
Okay. Well, let's keep brushing our teeth as we bounce along here and figure this out. And Dave Dulio is an expert that we turn to. And he's at Oakland University in Rochester, where you can get a great education in a beautiful part of the state. Thank you very much for the political can that we've kicked around. Can of toothpaste, I guess, this morning, or a tube. It's MPS all across Michigan.
Like you, all of us at Enbridge are thankful for the professionals who keep communities safe and healthy during this COVID-19 crisis. Our people live and work in communities like yours, and in this time of social distancing, we're using alternative work arrangements to keep people safe. We also know it's important we continue to safely deliver the affordable and reliable energy we all need to fuel our lives. Stay healthy. Stay safe. We're all in this together. Learn more at enbridge.com/safety.
Pure Grade Lawn and Tree Professionals, serving the greater Lansing area since 2002, providing high-quality, competitively priced lawn and tree care services. If you're a new homeowner, currently using a competitor, or doing lawn treatments on your own, call 1-866-557-7873 or visit us at puregreenlawn.net and have one of our lawn experts perform a 14-point lawn evaluation and design a program that will provide the desired results.
How many times a day do we say the words, thank you? Sometimes for little reasons, like,
thanks, Mrs. K. The trumpet's fun.
Or,
hey, Coach. Thanks for the pointers.
But sometimes we say thanks for reasons that are big, like a billion times big. Last year, the Michigan Lottery contributed well over $1 billion to public education, an investment that supports our schools and our kids' futures. So thanks a billion for playing. The Michigan Lottery. For fun, for schools. Knowing your limits is always the best bet.
Michael Patrick Shiels here for Matt Rhodes at Dusty's Cellar, and Matt's very busy because he wants you to know there is tap room to go food available if you're looking for carry out in these unusual times, and the cellar is open for usual business. They've got the 6 for $60 wines. They're stocked. You can get in and you can get out very quickly, and if you want the details ahead of time, you can go to dustycellar.com. Tap room takeaway is open at Dusty's Cellar, and Matt Rhodes says, come on by.